Hey, folks, today is October 3rd, 2018. This is Roland Martin Unfiltered. Sorry for our technical delays, but we are here. We are live. We're going to go right to our top story, and that is they are awaiting the deliberations to begin in Chicago in the case of Jason Van Dyke, the Chicago cop who killed Laquan McDonald. Van Dyke testified on yesterday. The defense and the prosecution, they have rested. The question now is what is going to happen when it comes to this jury? I want to go right now to Chicago where WGN Radio's reporter, he's been with us on a number of times, of course, talking about this case. And so I want to go to him, pull him up, please. Domoti Piongo. First of all, how you doing, Doc?
I'm good. How you doing, Roland?
What is the mood there in Chicago? Because obviously the jury, they're going to make their decision. Certainly, folks are hoping that this jury finds Jason Van Dyke guilty of murdering Laquan McDonald.
Yeah, people are on edge. And one thing that we talked about the first time we chatted about this case was about how he was charged with first-degree murder and 16 counts of aggravated battery. A lot of activists were concerned about that charge of first-degree murder by the former state's attorney, Anita Alvarez, because they thought he may be overcharged. The understanding was that by some attorneys, was that Jason Van Dyke didn't wake up that morning and decide that he was going to shoot Laquan McDonald, so that first-degree murder may be hard to prove. Well, in yesterday's trial, when Jason Van Dyke took the stand, a witness for the defense actually said something that didn't play into the defense's favor. It was a psychologist who said that Jason Van Dyke told his partner, Joseph Walsh, when he was on his way to attend to that shooting, that he said, well, if this guy is stabbing out police car tires, why aren't they shooting him? And he says, or why haven't they done anything? And he says, quote, we may have to shoot this guy. So he was saying this on the way to the shooting, and a lot of attorneys are really looking at that statement, seeing if that can make that first-degree murder charge stick. Another thing that the people are worried about as far as the direction that will be given to the jurors is whether or not they'll be able, even though he was charged with first-degree murder and those counts of aggravated battery, will they be able to give him a lesser charge of second-degree murder if they so choose?
And again, of course, we know in the case of Michael Slager, the cop in North Charleston, South Carolina, who shot and killed Walter Scott, he went to prison, but it wasn't because of the murder charge. Of course, there was a hung jury there, and he went to prison. He pleaded guilty to civil rights violations. And have we heard anything from the Department of Justice that they are going to also potentially pursue civil rights violations against Jason Van Dyke?
At this point, to my knowledge, we have not. But this is something that activists are really honing in on and talking about. They've also been talking about this consent decree, trying to figure out what's going to happen. You know, as you may recall, and you talked about it at length several while ago on multiple platforms, about the consent decree during the Obama administration. The previous attorney general recommended that some action be taken in the city of Chicago because of the actions of Chicago police officers. And Jason Van Dyke case, of course, was one of the linchpins of that whole discussion, but they're still hashing out between the city what that consent decree might look like. So from that aspect, those conversations are happening. I haven't heard anything in terms of civil rights charges, though, coming down against Jason Van Dyke. I think everyone is waiting to see how this will play out in the criminal courts. All
right, Domate, we'll surely appreciate it, man. Thanks a bunch, and we'll be going back to you to see what happens in that case.
I'm looking forward to it.
All right, folks, I want to now go to Ohio, where a black police officer she was fired 2 years ago for posting comments on her Facebook page, a Facebook live stream, talking about police beatings in the aftermath of the Alton Sterling shooting in Louisiana. Nakia Jones, this is what she had to say when her son wanted her to know how does she feel as a cop about these shootings.
If you are white and you work in the black community and you are racist, you need to be ashamed of yourself. You stood up there and took an oath. If this is not where you want to work at, then you need to take your behind somewhere else. I decided to work in the African-American community because I'm African-American and I wanted to make a difference. I'm a double minority. They would have got 2 hits for me because I'm African-American and I'm a female. I'm here because I wanted to make a difference. But how dare you stand next to me in the same uniform and murder somebody? How dare you? You ought to be ashamed of yourself. So why don't we just keep it real? If you're that officer that know good and well you got a God complex, you're afraid of people that don't look like you have no business in that uniform. Take it off. If you're afraid to go and talk to an African-American female or a male or a Mexican male or female, because they're not white like you, take the uniform off. You have no business being a police officer. Because there's many of us that will give our life for anybody. And we took this oath and we meant it. If you are that officer that's prejudiced, take the uniform off and put the KKK hoodie on. Because I will not stand for that. If you're an officer that works with me and you're wrong, I will tell you you're wrong. My heart goes out to that young man's family, because if it was my son, I don't know what I would do. I am my brother and my sister's keeper. That's why I'm going to keep this uniform on. Because today I wanted to quit when I saw that video. But I need for y'all to support the ones of us that are right. And I need for you to stand for those of us that are not right.
Folks, Nakiah Jones worked for the Warrensville Heights Police Department. She was later fired, basically for violating the sick leave policy. Joining us right now is her attorney, Ben Crump, as well as Nakiah Jones. Glad to have both of you here. First and foremost, Nakiah, I want to go to you. It's been 2 years since you were fired. Your husband is also a police officer. Is the police union, are they standing behind you?
My union attorney is representing me. Unfortunately, our union guys are, I think, honestly, they're afraid of retaliation. So they're not, to me, they're not doing everything they could do for me. It's almost like I'm out on a limb. And just to let you know, Mr. Martin, it'll be a year, October 20th. I got fired last year, October 20th.
And, I mean, so they're saying you violated a sick leave policy. What are they talking about?
They're saying that I was out. I got into a car accident May 28th. I ended up being diagnosed with a concussion and a post-concussion syndrome. The department tried to force me back to work against doctor's orders. And when I did not return, they knew that I had been invited to do a church gathering speaking engagement. This was a year prior. They went on my Facebook page, saw the flyer, and decided we're going to order her back to work. I don't care what the doctors say. And when they tried to do that and I didn't, they said I violated sick leave policy, but I was out on workers' comp. I'm still out on workers' comp.
I want to go to Ben Crump, your attorney. Ben, of course, there's an arbitration that's taking place, but you guys don't want to do that. You want this to go to the court, correct?
Absolutely. The arbitration that is precipitated by the police policy with the union is very slanted for the police, Roland. And this ultimately is a First Amendment freedom of speech issue. Nakiah went on her personal Facebook page and she made this to her personal friends, 400 of them. Somehow they shared it with others, and it got seen, I think, now by 10 million people, because you see her heart in that video, all the passion, Roland. And we keep saying, especially in the Black community, where are all the good police officers when they see these injustices? Why aren't they saying anything? Well, Nakiah, she spoke up. She's a good police officer. And when her son said, "Mama, why are you all killing us?" that hit a core with her heart. And she made that passionate plea, Roland. And for that, they terminated her. And we have evidence that they conspired to terminate her. This sick leave dismissal is just a pretextual reason to try to say, we're going to shut you up. I dare you speak against the blue line. And that's what this is. And it's so interesting. You were talking about Laquan McDonough in the earlier piece, because those 13 officers, they lied, Roland, and we see that based on the video. And now when Nakiah tells the truth, she is fired immediately. Anita Alvarez, it was over a year before they even released the video of Laquan McDonough saying they're still investigating. So what this ultimately comes down to, Roland, is we have to support good police officers, good brothers and sisters who are in uniform, who take a stand against the obvious injustice. And if you look at the video for Alton Sterling, and the police officer says, "I'm going to kill you, you black," and then a minute later he kills him, Nakiah is absolutely right. That is murder. And our silence is betrayal, no matter if you're a police officer or you're anybody in the community. And that's what this is about, trying to silence us.
Nakiah, do you regret making that video?
No, not at all. And I actually talked to Cameron, Austin Sterling's son. I reached out, found out where he was, a friend of mine. So me and Cameron talk all the time. And every time he talks to me, he keeps saying, Auntie, thank you for not letting them forget about my father.
Ben Crump, do you believe that obviously this is retaliation on the part of the police department? You alluded to that earlier. And then you talked about the making of this video. Do you believe that this sends a chilling effect, creates a chilling effect for other officers out there who might want to say something? Pretty much what's happening here, it's saying, no, beware, we will come after you.
Absolutely, Roland. And for everybody who's listening to Unfiltered today, we have to stand behind Nakiya, but also we have to stand behind the Constitution. She has a First Amendment freedom of speech. They had no social media policy. This is a direct violation of her constitutional rights, saying that you, Black policewoman, cannot express yourself. And if you do, this is what's going to happen to you. And this is more of a message for others, I believe, Roland. And that's why we have to be ready to take this matter to the Ohio Supreme Court if they refuse to let us not have any recourse other than this arbitration. And we have to be willing to go all the way to the United States Supreme Court, because never has there been a more critical time in America for women to have their right to be heard. And thank you so much, Roland, for getting this out, because mainstream media don't want to talk about Nakiya having her First Amendment rights to free speech. We are talking about all the Me Too stuff, but Nakiya is part of the Me Too as well. She has a right to express herself as a woman, as a mother, as a person who cares about her community. And that's why we have to take this all the way up.
Nakiya, you also were invited to the White House to meet with President Barack Obama. Do you believe that that also is a factor in terms of your firing?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that a lot of the men felt a certain way. They already felt like she got all this attention. Who does she think she is? And then when I got the invite to the White House, especially after the arbitration hearing everything, they didn't even want me to go to arbitration. And the sad thing is, in my honest opinion, my chief or my mayor didn't want me to go.
And they hold 1 second, Ben, and they told you not to go?
They actually, when I called and asked to go, my chief gave me the runaround. He said, I need everybody's information so I can check it out. I gave it to him. I didn't get a call back. My cousin knows the mayor personally. He called the mayor about 8 o'clock at night, and the mayor was like, oh, yeah, she can go. But I believe in the beginning, like they said, they both said thumbs down because they could not prove that I got the invite, which is not true.
Ben, go ahead.
Yeah, Roland, I was going to say, also, she got threatened. Her fellow officers said that she deserves a bullet to the back of her head for making that video.
Ben, 1 second, Ben. When you say that, was that verbal? Was that written? Was that on a voicemail? Was it an email? Was it a social media? Where was that comment made?
It was made throughout our police department, and actually it got so bad where some of the community heard about it, but it was on a little piece of paper in my mailbox that said, BITCH, you need a bullet to the back of your head. When I saw it, I just looked at it and was like, I can't believe this. In our roll call room, the only people that have access to our roll call room is police officers or the chief or something like that. You regular people can't go back. Then I got a letter that told me I was responsible for the 11 officers' death in Dallas, and I need to go get my Black Panther Party card. Then I got a real derogatory letter that they claimed they kept saying it's from a Black officer telling me to go get back on welfare, go back to East Cleveland and dance in the street with the cooties, told me I was disgraced. It just was really ugly.
Ben, go ahead.
And Roland, when they made those threats to her, what was really outrageous is her police department did not even investigate those threats.
Wait 1 second. 1 second, Ben. You're saying that with all the things that she just said, the police department, those threats made against a police officer, there was no investigation whatsoever?
None whatsoever. In fact, the chief response has been to tell her and her supporters that they should have been more responsible. So why should Nakiya have been more responsible in making a video that was private and answering the question for her children. That's the only response she has gotten. And Roland, that goes against all their policy when there is a threat made to a police officer. As many times as you and I, Roland, have been all across America, when they kill black and brown boys, they say it's because officers' safety, and they felt threatened. Now, what's more threatening than getting a note in your locker saying that word, you deserve a bullet to the back of your head?
Certainly tragic there. Nakia Jones, Ben Crump, we certainly appreciate it. Ben, when is the hearing this week?
The hearing is actually on the 22nd, and then we're trying to go to court. And we don't want a final decision on the arbitration because we kind of know what they're going to do. They always do that, Roland. And before we leave, Roland Martin, I want to thank you so very much, brother, for bringing Unfiltered to Dallas, Texas, in the matter of Botham Jean. I mean, you really helped that community have a sense of empowerment. And you're an institution, I've told you before, Roland, but you just being there in person with Unfiltered meant so much for getting justice for Botham Jean.
Well, I certainly appreciate it. Thank you very much. And to the folks out there, we did live stream that community forum that took place on Saturday in Dallas. You can actually go to our YouTube channel. You can actually watch the entire forum, the whole 2-hour forum. It's available on all of our channels, YouTube, Facebook, and Periscope. Nakia Jones, thank you so very much. Ben Crump, thanks a bunch.
Thank you, sir, for having us.
All right, let's go right to our panel. We got Kim Klachik, Executive Director of Potential Me, Joe Madison, host of the Joe Madison Show on Sirius XM Radio, also known as The Black Eagle, and Lauren Victoria Burke, writer for the National Newspaper Publishers Association. Glad to have all of you here. Let's first talk about the Nakia Jones case. Again, Lauren, I want to start with you. Your family, law enforcement, folks in your family as well, and you trying to convince me that she gets fired because of a sick leave policy?
Yeah, it's unbelievable to think about all the police cases and the shootings that we've seen. Obviously, so many of them on video. And then this woman, I think actually for what she verbally said on Facebook, I don't think it has anything to do with sick leave policy. All of my relatives who've been in law enforcement, it's very difficult, obviously, given the union, particularly in New York, to get any of them off the job. If you see the case of Dan Pantaleo, who choked Eric Garner to death.
Who killed Eric Garner?
Right.
It's been 4 years.
On video.
He is still
And he has got
working.
a desk job with making more money, actually. And actually, he has actually been protesting to get his job back. And so someone is dead. Someone is dead, and that's a police officer who is still on the job. So it's a pretty amazing thing to see somebody lose their job over really nothing, an administrative situation.
And Joe, they're going after her pension.
Right.
And they're going after her entire career. And what you should also add to this discussion is that what tends to happen is that officers will go from a situation like you just described and what Crump just described, and they'll go down the road and get another job.
Right.
Especially in a little town like Ohio. I sat there just amazed, and when I read in prepping for this segment, I mean, all you have to do is go to the first 2 paragraphs, and you know this is a First Amendment case.
The cop who killed Tamir Rice got fired
actually
from another
come
police
down the
department
road and got hired in Cleveland.
Got hired in Cleveland.
That's right, exactly.
Where she works is in Cuyahoga County.
Yeah.
Right.
No neighboring police department will hire her.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And we know that these officers, if they shoot a young black man, the reality is, I don't care anywhere in the United States, their names don't get into a file,
right.
And they end up going and working somewhere else. This is just absolutely outrageous because you have done this, I have done this. We have always asked black officers to stand up and speak out.
Right.
And she did just that. What they didn't like was the Maxine approach, and I mean Maxine Waters.
Yeah, but also
she didn't take any. She just didn't take any prisoners.
They also didn't like the fact, Kimberly, that this thing blew up, that it went viral all across the country.
Yes.
It captured the imagination. It was shown on cable news networks, on local stations. It was shared all over the place. And to get an invite from the President of the United States,
right.
All of that. Absolutely, I think, clearly played a role in them saying, no, sister, we're going to put you in your place.
That's exactly what happened. And I wondered, and that was my question, were they taking her out because of the sick leave policy. I doubt they have any policy that says because you post on social media, we could take your job from you.
Well, no, they did try to argue it with social media, but as Crumb said, they said, but y'all don't have a social media policy.
Didn't have one.
There's
Didn't have one.
Didn't have one.
There's no way that they do. And so it's really sad, too. I learned a lot just listening to her today. I didn't realize that the notes were actually coming from someone in the police department, and then they decided not even to investigate it. That's huge. And I have to also point out, I don't believe Attorney Crump is actually on this case officially. He is reaching out and doing this like pro bono. Because
No, he's on it. So he's going to actually be, he's actually presenting the arguments. He's involved in the actual arbitration hearing. But they want it to actually go to the court system. They don't want to. They don't want to be. So he's involved with it. They don't want to involve. They don't want to be just in the arbitration. They want this to be in the court system where you have discovery, where it's public.
And can we bring up something else too? And don't let this go by. The union is not helping her. Any other time, the union.
Now she's a union lawyer, but in term of a union apparatus.
Look, the apparatus, as you say, you're absolutely right. They gather around, they meet in someone's lower level in a house, and they start, here's what you need to say, here's how you say. That union is not helping her, and I bet you she's paying union dues.
But here's the deal. Where are the Blue Lives Matter people? Where are the folks who love touting cops? You would think there were people. I really want to see, especially where the conservatives in this area, because again, this was a woman who was talking about the importance of the uniform, the importance of cops in communities. Where are they? It's amazing how they'll rally around the cops when in Cleveland they said we're going to pull the cops off the field because the players were kneeling or demonstrating issue police brutality. But I don't see them rallying around her. It's amazing how they're very quiet.
They're not going to do it.
It's always different. It's like with the NRA when someone black uses a gun lawfully, registered, et cetera, and the NRA doesn't say anything. The calculus is always different, as you can see.
And so the challenge, reality is they're not going to do it. It's a great rhetorical question. We know they're not going to do it. So the real challenge should be, our organization, our apparatus, our sororities, our fraternities, the African-American police organizations, and there's several of them out there. They need to do what we're challenging other people to do.
And it was very surprising. I don't know if anyone's watched the video in its entirety, but her message was about unity. It wasn't even really about, yes, she talked about those cops that could be racist that are putting the uniform on, but if you watch the whole thing, she's talking about unity and having mentors come in for juveniles that are maybe going down the wrong path. That's what the message was really about.
But the problem, though, is they don't like the fact that she dared to tell them, get the hell off of the forces and take the uniform off. And that's the fundamental problem here. The problem here, again, with people who are the likes of Sean Hannity and Fox News and these radio talk show hosts who are conservative, is they don't want to call out these thug cops. They don't want to say jack about the cops in Chicago with Laquan McDonald, who erased that video at Burger King. They don't want to say anything about how he lied by saying Laquan McDonald was charging him when in fact he was actually running away from him. See, they don't want to call him out. See, they want to rise to their defense. When you heard Megyn Kelly say, oh, hands up, don't shoot, that was all a lie. Okay, but you don't hear jack about Terrence Crutcher, who had his hands up, who was walking slowly, yet he's still end up dead. And that, to me, shows the hypocrisy, because what it speaks to is they want to say, we're going to protect you at all costs. We're going to say, oh, a few bad apples, but they don't want to own up to the racists and the bigots who are there and to call them out as well.
Fox News is always trying to racialize everything and make everything black against white and make it a right against wrong argument.
Oh, hell yes.
And they do with policing and Justin all the time.
No. I don't think you can even remotely compare the two because, again, when you have Tucker Carlson going on every night basically caping for white nationalists, and all of a sudden you aggrieve white men as if, oh, my God, they've been so hurt by what's happening in America. No, that's the game here. And all of a sudden you finally are having these white columnists who are finally waking the hell up about this white male privilege, which we've been saying for so long.
Let's not forget, I'm sorry to interrupt, let's not forget what you really said. They ignore it. And there's an old adage, that which you ignore, you empower. And that's exactly why they're ignoring it, because it really empowers these racist officers to do it.
Show me how much coverage Fox News is doing on the Jason Van Dyke trial.
No. None.
Show me.
I mean, really, the breaking point for them really was Walter Scott, because the Walter Scott shooting was an absolutely in cold blood, in the back shooting, and even like Lindsey Graham and Tim Scott had to come out and admit that this was a shocking event, and even Fox News went stone silent on that, and that was one of the most sort of obvious examples of just an unjust police shooting on tape.
You know, I mean, we can analyze Fox News all day long and all night long. You know, they should just take away the word news.
Right.
Fox News has and always has been propaganda. They were created for the purpose of propaganda. Excuse me, I knew Roger Ailes. You know, I know what they attempted to do when they put it together. Now we're how many years, a couple of decades ahead.
Right.
But their whole job was to have a network that went to the other side of the political policy debate. And that's what they designed themselves
And let me show you. So I just went to foxnews.com and I typed in Laquan. No. I want you to,
facts are facts.
But I'm gonna read you. Matter of fact, do me a favor. Bring me the, I need the HDMI connection here. Because I need you to see this, because I'm proving with receipts.
Okay, and then we can go to CNN.com.
No, hold up. Now, you want to go there?
You don't want to go there.
You don't want to go there. No.
You don't want to compare.
Hold on, Kim.
You don't want to compare.
Okay, Kim.
Black and white people against each other all the time.
Hold on, Kim. Hold on.
Just go there.
Henry, go to my iPad.
Just go there. Yeah.
No, I got to go to my iPad.
Go to CNN. Go right to CNN.
What I did is I went to foxnews.com, typed in Laquan McDonald. The latest, Chicago officer testifies in Laquan McDonald murder trial. The latest, expert explains PCP effect on Laquan McDonald. Judge denies change of venue bid in Laquan McDonald trial. Cop accused of killing Laquan McDonald, I'm not racist. Trial of Jason Van Dyke, Chicago officer accused of murdering Laquan McDonald, begins with jury selection. Chicago police officer believes Laquan McDonald murder charge is political, I'm not a racist. Chicago judge slaps white cop on trial for Laquan McDonald murder with 2 G5 for violating gag order. Prosecutor, November 14, 2017, no more indictments in Laquan McDonald shooting. I don't see any stories on foxnews.com when the prosecution put on their case. Not one. What I see.
Like hold on. Wait.
Kim, wait a second. Kim, wait a second. See, first of all, Kim, this is why you shouldn't be defending nonsense. Here's the piece. Okay,
I'm not defending nonsense.
Kim, I'm proving something.
You're putting words in my mouth.
No, I'm showing you. No, because you start caping for Fox News. I'm showing you something. Ahead. You go from the cop accused of killing Laquan McDonald, I'm not racist, to judge denying a change of venue, September 17th. 10 days go by. The latest, expert explains PCP effect on Laquan McDonald. They completely skipped over the prosecution putting the case on. Completely skipped over the inconsistencies in Jason Van Dyke's testimony. Completely skipped over it. Now, you said, let's go to CNN. We're going to do that. So I'm going to go to CNN.com.
And let's look at all the stories.
No.
Let's look at the stories where they're purposely pitting black and white people against each other.
No, Kim, that's cute.
Okay.
But I'm going to
so we're just going to type in one case.
No. I'm doing an apples to apples comparison. And what I'm trying to get you to understand is that, to Joe's point, this is all by design. What this is all about is how
when we go to a couple other stories, it is about design on every network.
Again, but see, you're caping again. That's what I'm trying to
Every network has an agenda. They all have. It's all the same.
Let's talk about this agenda right here, right now.
No, wait a minute.
Let's talk about this agenda.
Here we go.
Okay, then we'll talk about another agenda.
Chicago police officer facing murder charges. Laquan McDonald's family wants peace, no matter the outcome of trial for officer who killed him. Attorneys give opening statements in trial of Chicago officer charged with killing black man. Partner of Chicago police officer on trial for murder said victim was a threat. Chicago police officer testifies about fatal shooting of Laquan McDonald and says team kept advancing toward him with a knife. What we learned from Chicago police officer Jason Van Dyke's testimony. Defense rests in Chicago officer's trial in Laquan McDonald killing. You have far more perspective
On LaQuan McDonald.
Showing both sides of this trial. The point I'm making is a Fox News argument is, oh, we're going to ignore all the bad stuff with the cop.
Right.
But when he testifies, we're going to talk about him testifying.
CNN does the same thing with other stories.
I just read for you.
Oh, my God.
No, they don't.
Okay.
Exactly what is on their website.
LaQuan McDonald, perhaps that is that case. But on other stories,
the one that you said
CNN
didn't happen.
does avoid things. Okay, let's look at Kavanaugh and Dr. Ford on CNN.
No. See,
Let's look at that.
Let's
look at that.
We are discussing, what happens right here with cop cases, because one audience, a white conservative audience, loves to go Blue Lives Matter, support the men and women in blue. But then when you have a black cop who is saying get rid of those folks who are beating people, then where are they?
Can I throw in just one observation? Fox News has not done what Roland Martin's show did, or Joe Madison's show did, or what Crump just said. They haven't even interviewed this woman.
And they're not going to.
They didn't. And if Fox News is very honest, and they are news, quote unquote, then they should have that police officer on the show. They have not had it. And what we're trying to say to you, that's a conscious decision not to have her on.
I understand
and
that.
Why
what
defend
I'm trying
that?
to say to you
Why defend that?
CNN does it with other stories.
1 second.
That is what news networks do.
Wait a minute. Since you bring up Nakia Jones, Henry, go to my iPad. I'm looking right now on CNN.com. They have a video of her, black cop, at the Dallas shooting out wearing blue. Then they had an interview, Black and Blue, double despair for African-American police. Okay? Now, they have not done a story tied to Nakia Jones since July of 2016.
And
you got that? Oh, wait.
And they're not going.
Wait. Henry, come back to me.
And this is CNN.
No, stop.
Correct?
I'm now about to go to Fox News where I typed in Nakia Jones.
Nothing. Nothing.
Hold up, Kim. I'm sorry. Let me click advanced search.
Get advanced nothing.
Ain't nothing here.
Yes.
What else you got to say?
That is sad because Nakia Jones obviously she should have support.
So why do you think? Why do you think?
And CNN should actually do more, and they should also interview her.
CNN should do more. Fox has nothing.
No, Fox. I just said Fox should do more. I just said Fox should do more. I just said that.
Yeah, well then,
so you guys
then it's your responsibility.
Everybody
Wait a minute.
should do more.
Then it's your no. Look, there's a difference between doing more and doing nothing. And so the point is, and I'm a little concerned about you being beaten up the way you are, but you deserve it. The reality is you need to go to Fox News and whatever contacts you have and say, you know, they're whipping my butt over here at Roland.
I don't feel like you guys are whipping my butt because you know what? There are stories on many networks where they pit black people and white people against each other all
listen,
the time.
don't change.
Like
you go to Twitter feed for both CNN, MSNBC.
Excuse me.
That's how they
Excuse me.
That's what networks do, and you know
young lady, wait, don't tell me what I know.
You know this,
excuse me.
right?
No,
This is what you do?
Excuse me.
No,
don't tell me what I know.
No, we
Remember
don't know.
when we walked in the green room? You didn't even know who I was.
I looked you up and I knew that.
You didn't know who I was. You asked me, oh, you live around here? Now, so don't tell me.
I did.
Yeah, well,
I don't know everybody.
Yeah, that's my point. So don't tell me what I know. So now, having said that, what I'm saying to you is, all you have to do is say, you know what? Next time on that set at Fox, or next time I have an audience with the producers or the news director, I'm going to bring this up. I sat on a show, and you need to get this police woman on. That's all you have to do.
You're telling me I go on Fox?
I don't know where you go.
You don't know
Kim,
me?
you go on Fox all the damn time.
You don't know me either.
Wait a minute. Didn't she just say she goes on Fox all the time?
I didn't say that. When?
You just said it.
You don't go on
You go on Fox all the time,
I don't
Kim?
go on
Yes
Fox
or no?
all the time.
Kim.
It's a yes or no.
I go on Fox, but not all the time. I didn't just say that.
Clear
I didn't just say that. But he did not know that.
Never mind.
But he did not know
pull some
that.
receipts on your
But he did
ass?
not know that.
Do you want me to go to your
So don't
Instagram
act like
page?
you know me
Kim?
when you don't.
Kim.
Never mind. This
you
is
want to go on your Twitter page?
This is
child,
ridiculous.
I will pull out a nut receipt like the damn CBS receipt you get, where it's a long ass sheet of paper. You don't want to go there. Okay, y'all.
Look, all I'm asking is just, you know what? Just like that black woman stood up, and she said what she said to the officers that she has to work with. You, as an individual who also agrees with her and agrees with us on what has happened to her,
Correct.
do me a favor, speak up.
Okay.
Speak up. That's all I'm asking you to do.
And don't defend nonsense. Bottom line is, we're making a broader point, and that is this here, and that is what you have individuals who are in conservative media, who basically protect and serve cops, except when they don't like what they have to say. Just like Republican Party hates unions, except police unions.
I'm not denying that.
And what I'm trying to say is, this is symptomatic of what you have is black versus white. The fact that this black woman dared to call out these sorry, trifling, thuggish cops, they said, how dare you?
Who threatened to kill him.
That's why this woman got fired. And that's why they want to take her pension. And that's why the union is not showing up. And you know what? Those cops in Chicago have been showing up every single day. But Jason Van Dyke, leading the way when he's walking in court, providing security, speaking up for him. But you will not have the cops do the same thing for this sister, because it's the difference between what she said and her skin color, and that's what it boils down to. And speaking of a difference between skin color and how folks do it, let's talk about Agent Orange. Now, yesterday, Donald Trump, he decided to make a comment about these young men who are being wrongfully accused of crimes. Now, all of a sudden, the context of that really was Brett Kavanaugh, okay? A privileged 50-something-year-old white man who was just saying, I didn't do it, I didn't do it. Yet, Donald Trump was the one leading the charge and talking about the Central Park Five. And so today, at the White House, two black reporters questioned Sarah Huckabee Sanders about this very issue of the Central Park Five and what Donald Trump had to say. And this is how she responded.
President Trump talked a lot yesterday about this issue of being concerned about men being guilty before being thought guilty before proven innocent, and this idea of due process. But in the past, with the Central Park Five, he put out an ad basically calling for the death penalty before they had been found convicted, and even after they were exonerated, he still basically said that they may be guilty. And even as president, he has talked about presided over rallies where people say lock her up, talking about Hillary Clinton. So I guess, is there a disconnect between when the president is interested in due process for some, but not for others?
Not at all. The president actually encouraged the Senate to hear Dr. Ford's testimony in the same way he encouraged them to hear Judge Kavanaugh's. He is simply stating the fact that we are a country of law and order. We are a country